Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Sarah Newman, and I'm so happy you're joining me for this episode of Saturday with Sara. Today, we've got gorgeous new floral collections from our friends at Hunkydory, and I'm very excited to show you these. So let's take a look. First, we have the square little book of In Full Bloom. Now, if I angle this, you'll see how thick this pad is. This is an absolute treasure. It contains 120 pages of floral images, each measuring just shy of about 5 inches square. You'll have 6 each of 20 different designs, and they are just perfect as a card focal or for the inside of your card. Now, what I love about Hunkydory, of course, the designs are beautiful. The illustrations and the artwork are really gorgeous. But I also like that they're including a variety of different flowers and a variety of different styles here too, so that you really have things that are perhaps a bit more informal, perfect for birthdays. And then you also have some more serious flowers. So this is a really nice variety set, and you'll have something for so many different card giving themes. Then we also have the In Full Bloom Bespoke collection, and this is something really unique, and I'm very excited about it. So we can start with the 8 sheets of gold foiled base layer pieces, and that's what I've got in my hands here. So of course these beautiful peonies that you can see, and all of the other designs as well. So we've got not only the peonies, but daisies, we've got orchids, we've got lilies and poppies and hydrangea. Such gorgeous designs. And as I'm flipping through, you'll notice that there's kind of a format to these. So you'll have a large focal image. You'll also have borders, and you will also have some sentiments for your card too. Now the nice thing here is that everything is die cut, so you don't have to fussy cut around the border here. And if you notice, those borders are all gold foiled. So a really quick and easy way to get a very elegant looking card design. Then to go along, we have the coordinating deco large sheets. And I'm going to bring back in this base piece with the peonies so you can see how these can be used together. Now with the deco large sheet, you can see here that you've got a variety of peonies. You've got some large full images, and then you've got some smaller portions here. Well, these are all die cut as well, so they'll pop right out, and you can layer these elements one on top of the other to build up a dimensional design just using some foam tape in there. You could use this on a card by itself, or you could combine it with the base piece. So you can start to see where all of these elements will come together. And of course, there is more. So also inside here, you've got 8 cardstock sheets, which can be used as backgrounds or for the inside of the card. And again, with Hunkydory quality, you cannot go wrong. This cardstock is nice and thick. The designs are beautiful, and the colors are really rich and vivid. Hunkydory knocks it out of the park once again. Now, one last thing in today's webisode, you can't forget, you will also have a sheet with 9 project ideas for inspiration. So this gorgeous floral collection is so much fun, and I'm really looking forward to sharing all of the creative possibilities with you. I'm super glad that you're here today, so come play with us. This cheerful daisy card is a great example of how easily these components can come together. For my inspiration, I turned to the project idea sheet that comes with the collection, and I realized I thought there were 9 project ideas on here, but then I flipped it over and I see that there are 3 more on the back. So you have 12 in total. And the one that caught my eye was this one down here at the bottom with the daisies and the butterflies. Now this card to me looks like a fairly large square shape, and I'm using hot off the presses blank cards, and they measure 5 inches by 6.5 inches, and they're rectangular. So I made a few adjustments from my inspiration card. And this is just a good tip to keep in mind, that you can easily take elements from one card example and tweak them for a different format, whether you're going from square to rectangular or vice versa. So I've covered my card front with the daisy cardstock piece, and then I added the die cut base layer with some foam tape. Now that base layer has this beautiful border and the foiling on it, and it also has our full daisy flower on there. I could leave it as it is, but then I turned to the Deco large sheet. I'll show you what I've got left of it. And I pulled 2 of the additional layers to put on top. So I've got my blossom on here as one layer. I think that was right there. And then the flower center, which is right here. So I could layer up the entire flower from this one sheet, or I can use it in parts and pieces, which is what I've done here. So I've got these 2 elements layered up with some foam tape. Now, I use a lot of foam tape in my card making. This is the roll of tape that I have from hot off the press, and believe it or not, it used to be even bigger. And so what I'll do is just pull off a bit and snip it off with my kind of junky scissors, you know, the scissors that you use to cut adhesive. And then from there, I can cut that down even smaller. So let me show you here. I've got my full daisy on here, and then I've got the blossom portion. And so what I've done is simply added some foam tape to the back, and then I can layer the 2 of these together. And this will give me a 2-layer dimensional daisy, and this one is of course the 3 layers. So you can really experiment and explore with how many different layers you want to use. So then here I've also added the butterfly die cut. She's popped up on foam tape too. I have this beautiful border, and this is just glued straight down onto the front of the card. And then I've also added in some of the diamond sparkle gemstones. These are from Hunkydory too, and a jute twine bow. And then for my card inside, I have another portion of that leftover cardstock. I've got a border that I snipped into. It wasn't quite wide enough to go all the way across, but I've covered up that blank area in the middle with a beautiful sentiment. Plus I've got my butterfly accent. So this is a great way to see how easily these components come together and how we can use some of that Hunkydory inspiration as a great starting point. Of course, you can also combine all of the layers of decoupage from that Deco large sheet together to create one single image. And that's what I've done to create the poppy on the focal of my card here. I love this image. I think it's beautiful. So I've simply glued together all of those layers. And when I do this, I'm using the Craft acrylic glue. This is from Creative Expressions, and I've got it in a fine tip applicator bottle. And this just makes it easier to get precision application, and it really minimizes the mess. So I've glued all of those elements together to create one flower. And then I used foam tape to adhere the flower onto the base piece, and also to adhere the base piece onto the front of my card. So I have a combination of glue and foam tape. And with our first card, I used only foam tape for the layers. But putting foam tape between like 9 layers of this flower would make it pretty bulky. If I angle this, I think you can see though that the cardstock is fairly substantial, and gluing those layers will still give a lot of depth and dimension, and also sturdiness that can hold up in going through the mail. The card front has this beautiful patterned cardstock with the florals and this border printed right onto it. And then I've added my sentiment at the bottom, and this border is glued right up at the top. I have a little bee accent up on foam tape, plus this jute twine for a little bit of softness. For the card inside, I have more of that gorgeous pattern paper, plus another sentiment and another little bumblebee. I have another card that I want to show you, and this one has not been finished quite yet because I wanted to show the construction of the background before I glue everything down. So here I've simply trimmed down this hydrangea cardstock piece so it's slightly smaller than the front of my card. I inked around the outside edges using my favorite, the Midas Gold ink pad, and that will give some dimension around the outside edge, and it also coordinates nicely with some of the gold elements in the decoupage sheet. And I've added a piece of luscious lace along this border here. This is a new to me die from hot off the press. I'm obsessed with this. I use it all the time. So the die set has 2 dies in it. You've got the doily and the border. And the border is what I've used here. So I've just die cut that from plain white cardstock and glued it kind of following the edge on that printed sheet. Then I also wanted to use this border, but it wasn't quite long enough, so I cut it in 2 and then glued down each of the 2 portions. And of course I'm trimming everything even with the edges of that cardstock piece. And then I can add in my focal element right in this space here. So this is my beautiful hydrangea. I've glued the 2 bottom layers together and then popped up the blossom on foam tape. So then after I glue this in place, I can glue this down right on top. Either glue it down or add it with some foam tape, whichever I want to do. And then I could also add in a little gingham bow if I wanted to. I've got a sentiment, of course, that's available, and maybe even a little bumblebee can go up there too. So once I get this all glued together, of course, I will put it in the project gallery so you can see. But I did finish off the inside because here I'm using one of the images from the little book, which I trimmed down. So this is what it looks like originally. And I've just trimmed off that border. And then I added one of the die cut sentiments going across the center. The images in the little book work beautifully as card focals, and that's what I've used for the front of my card here. Now here's the focal as it comes out of the little book, and I used the square from the square and scallop dies from hot off the press to cut this down to 4 1/4 inches, and that just fit the front of my card and the size of my card a little bit better. So for the rest of the card, well, the front has been covered with coordinating background cardstock, and that's got this beautiful floral border and also this dot border down here at the bottom too. Then I've got my focal popped up on some foam tape. I have one of the sentiments, and I have this little gingham bow, so could not be simpler. Then for the inside of my card, I have some silver glitter cardstock on here that I had in my stash. I have another snippet of patterned cardstock. I have a border, and then I have this sentiment. So it's a pretty quick and easy card to put together, and from there, I just kept going with that same collection. So let me show you what I was up to. Now I've got a couple of other cards that have not been completely put together, but I thought we could have a bit of a play. With this design, I've simply trimmed down the rest of that cardstock sheet. I inked around the outside edges, and this can get glued right to the front of my card. So I could leave it like this, I could add in a sentiment, but of course I've got these decoupage layers. So here's one piece. I've got some foam tape on there, and I could simply position this right on top. And then maybe I want to take one of the sentiments and kind of tuck this under here. And then there's also butterfly image. One could go up here. There's also a butterfly that kind of flies in from the side. She could go up there as well. You know, you can kind of create some layers and dimension on here. I know I often talk about what a great value you get with Hunkydory, but I think these collections are really a great example of that. So if I get all of these layers put together and on the front of my card, well, I've got the inside of my card decorated already. And this is just another one of the decoupage elements just glued right on here. And then I added in a dazzle sentiment. So something to go with here, but I still have more parts and pieces. So I'll set aside this card carefully. I'm going to keep all of those pieces together. Start with another blank card because of course I have that base piece. Now I could simply put this down onto a blank white card, maybe add a sentiment down at the bottom and be ready to go. I could also, of course, cover my card front with colored cardstock. The blue would be pretty. On the other side, I've got a beautiful rich burgundy. That would be nice too. There's a dark green, which would really pick up the leaf colors. On the other side here, I've got some light green. So I've got a lot of different options I can explore with just some plain cardstock on there. Now, I've also got more layering possibilities here. So, of course, I've got my various elements. Let's have a look at what I could do. It's kind of like building a puzzle. So I can start with this, take my next layer, pop that down, glue it down or put it down with foam tape. And then this piece, I've already got some foam tape on there. I can position this down. And then with this kind of funny looking piece that can go over here and create some more dimension. And of course, I've also got the little flower centers, and I have a little leaf piece that I could also work in there too. So this can create some really nice and very easy dimension on there. So while the sheets are designed for you to make one card or maybe two cards, we crafters know that we can really maximize our supplies, and that's part of the fun too. So I'm going to assemble all of my card projects, and I will have those all in the project gallery for you for later. I have one more card project to share with you, and this one is using just the base layer of our gorgeous peony. Now for this card, I also used that same 4¼ inch square cutting die to create a white cardstock mat for my card focal. This also gave me a little bit of help in getting the corners even with the outside of my circular focal. So the focal is popped up on foam tape, and then my white cardstock is layered onto a scalloped vellum square here, and that just adds a little bit of softness to the design. I accented the corners with some of the Hunkydory diamond sparkle gemstones, and then added the sentiment down here at the bottom. So of course my card front is covered with the patterned cardstock, so everything comes together really easily. Then for my card inside, I have more patterned paper, and I've also got one of the sheets from the little book, and this is the design. So again, just trimming around the outside edge there, it's going to give me a completely different look here. And then I've also added in my sentiment just to finish that off. And this is our last card project of the day today. So a thank you to our friends at Hunkydory for this gorgeous collection. As you can see, I had a lot of fun playing with this, and I think you will too. And a special thanks to you for joining me today. We're really glad you're here, and we're so happy you're part of the Paper Wishes family. Do feel free to leave a comment. We love to hear what you think. Each item can be purchased separately, and you can see them below. However, we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. For the money saver, just see this webisode on paperwishes.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, have a look in the description box below this video. You'll find a link that will take you to our Paper Wishes webisodes page, and you can see everything I just mentioned. If you enjoyed our video today, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up. It helps people to find our channel. And don't forget to subscribe. We create 3 to 5 videos each week, so there's always something fun to inspire your creative spirit.